Okay, in this project I'm going to introduce you to variables and create a new one called square area. You should name your form with the same name. So the form would be called square area, one word, capital S, capital A. Change your text to be something appropriate. And for starters, just put a label on here. And the label, I'm never actually going to refer to this label in my code, so technically I'm not going to force you to name it because it gets to be too much. If I need to refer to this label in my code, I would expect it to have a decent name. So the text in this label is going to be, what is the area of a square with side 5? Question mark. What is the area of a square with side 5? I feel like a game show host. Okay, we are going to need a label for the answer. This one definitely needs a name because we will be coding for it. So call it LBL answer. And you could just remove the text. And before you click anywhere else, if you want to, I would change the size of your font, because once you click somewhere else, you're not going to see that label anymore. And we're going to put a button on here. And we're going to name this one BTN answer. Text will be ampersand answer. Now, looking at this, I have everything centered, but I know I left my answer label here to the left. So what you can do is you can choose, if you click and drag, you can choose your label. But if you can't remember exactly where it is, from the properties window at the top here, this drop down, it lists all of your controls. Go ahead and choose LBL answer and choose, I was looking for format, I'm not seeing it. LBL answer. I need to be an expert, maybe. Still not seeing format. Okay, I'm not sure where my format went. Oh, there it is. Format. So if you don't have format, make sure you choose Tools, Settings, and you're on Expert for starters. And then give it a minute to fix itself up. And then I went somewhere else. I unclicked and then I clicked back and it came back. So, and once I format, center and form horizontally. So now my label's centered here, but it's probably still left aligned in the text. So what you can do is you can choose text align, and I want it to be center. I don't care which of the centers. I only have one line, so I have top center. Okay, so that's enough of the formatting. Double click answer to get into your code. Double check that this says square area and not form 1. Double check that this is BTN answer and not button 1. And if you're good to go, then get in the habit of starting out with a comment with your name. And then this is variable lesson 1. And the date is October 14th, 2015. You should get in that lesson or habit. You need to put comments in. So in between private and end sub, first we're going to declare a variable that represents the side of the square. So dim, which stands for dimension, and the variable name is going to be side, and it is an integer. The next part is totally optional, but you can set its initial value. Next, we need a variable for area, which is what we're going to calculate, and it will also be an integer. Now, this program, I'm going to put a comment in here. There is no input here. But normally, your programs are going to be input, process, notice how I'm doing these as comments, output, because that's really the point of your program. Give it some information, have it figure something out, give you a result. The processing is going to be area is equal to side times side, and that's how you do that. And the output is going to be LBL answer.text is equal to area. Run your program. It should work. Yeah, so if you want to change the size of your square, you have to go into your code, and I'll change it to 7, and then rerun your code. And I have the correct answer, but I have incorrect information in my sentence, don't I? So just to go over that again, if I want to change the side of my square to 10, and I run my program, it still says what is the area of a square with size 5, but I am getting the correct answer. So if I wanted to say 10, I'm actually going to have to go out to here, choose my label, choose my text box, go over here, change my number, and all of a sudden it becomes really piddly every time you change the size of your square. But a program like this is not very useful. What would make it more useful? To make this program more useful, we need to ask the user for the size of the square. So I'm going to get you to modify this text box, label, and I want you to ask the user to enter the length of a side. Enter the length of a side. There. Okay, so since I've asked for the length of a side, how am I going to go about getting it from the user? What object should I have? A text box. We need a text box. Go out and find a text box and add it to your form. Text box begin with txt. This will be txt side. And like all objects with text, you can change the properties here. So we can change the text alignment. You can change the character casing, but we're not actually typing in letters here. We're typing in numbers, so we don't care. You can change the max length, so we could keep it to only 3 characters. So the biggest side you could have would be 999. And then we have the name. Okay, so let's go to our answer code. So we'll have to make a few changes. For starters, we don't know how big the side is, so get rid of that number. Since we don't know how big the side is, we have to get it from the user, and that's our input section. So we need side to equal the text box.text information. Okay, we'll have to fix the tab order later. So if I run it with 5, and I'd like to press enter, but I didn't set up the accept button, so I click answer, and this would look better if I actually had text here, so we'll fix that. And if I change my 5 to a 10, then I get 100. So first of all, throw a label on your form that actually has some useful information. So the area is, would be good text. The area is and now when I run it, if I type in 3, click answer, it's a little more useful. Now my label's stuck on centered and I can't move it. If I type in 5, click get answer. Okay, so let's do a little housekeeping and clean this form up. The first thing that I notice is that when I run it with my keyboard, not my mouse, my cursor is not in the text box. So to fix that, it's your tab order. So make sure you're in design form, make sure you're in design view, and choose view, tab order. Before I choose it, look at the icon here in case you don't see tab order. And then from top to bottom, left to right, go through and click on your controls. Press escape to shut it off, run your program. Now your cursor's sitting there. So if I type in 5, now I'd like to be able to hit enter and have the answer calculated, but it doesn't work. That would be my form accept button. So choose your form, choose the accept button, and make it equal to BTN answer. Notice how it's blue. Run your project. 5, enter. Backspace. 10, enter. What I asked you to do was to run it and type in a letter of the alphabet. And when you do, you get an error. And you need to learn to read your errors a little bit, but basically this one says converting from string W to integer is not valid. W is not an integer. And in our code, we said that side, which is of type integer, is equal to the text. So side is equal to W. But hold it, a square peg does not fit in a round hole. Okay? So what you have to do always when dealing with this kind of thing is we use the val function like this. So change your input to say side equals val in parens txt side.text. So what it does is it takes the numeric value of txt side, and if it's a W, tell me what it converts it to. Run it and see. Yes, it converts it to a 0. So if it's a non-numeric value and not a number, it simply makes it 0, which keeps your program from crashing. Okay, so you need a text change procedure that changes your answer value so that when you run the program, the correct value is showing. So if I type in 5, my answer is 25, but if I change the 5 to a 6, I'm no longer looking at the incorrect answer. So another thing that happens when you run your program, say you type in 102 and you tab, and now I want to change 102 to a different number. The way my program is now, I have to backspace or click and drag. I would prefer that when my text box got the focus, it all became selected on its own. So with your cursor in the text change method, go up to the event list, which is right here. Look for the Got Focus method here. And all you have to do when the text box gets the focus is say that txtside.selectAll. txtside.selectAll. Run your program. Type in some big long number. Tab, tab, and now it's selected. And when you change it, the answer clears. Now your program is professional. So that's the beginning of how to use variables. Things to note: you're going to declare your variables as often as possible inside of your method. They will begin with dim for now. You will learn more later about that. Most of the time you're going to have input, process, output. And if you use proper variable names, it will all make sense. Side is equal to the text box name side. Area is equal to side times side. My answer is equal to whatever it is I just figured out. And they all follow the same pattern.